Glitch Productions is well known for having a hand in a lot of shows, like The Amazing Digital Circus, Gamerverse, and whatever the heck this is. But there is one show that stands out to me because I'm a sci-fi addict. That show being Murder Drones. Hi, my name is Startrap, and today I will be talking about Murder Drones and how I have watched it over the past couple days for the first time, despite the show concluding 2 years ago. Gosh freaking dang it, I'm old. Wait, when did it release? 4 years ago! To start, I'll go over things like the characters, the world building, the story, and then I'll rank each episode. And if you decided not to watch the show for 4 years like I did, here's a spoiler warning. That spoiler warning is effective immediately. Okay, the world building is pretty neat. Basically, humans expanded to the stars, built robots, but then blew themselves up. So they sent more robots to kill the robots that took their place. The story follows a worker drone, Uzi, who tries to kill the disassembly drones but accidentally befriends them. Then she gets infected with something called Absolute Solver and has to figure out how to get rid of it before it blows up the planet with the ominous meat hole. The characters don't have as much fleshing out as TADC's, but that show is 95% characters, 3% dirty jokes, and 2% world building anyway. I'm not saying the characters have bad writing, because they don't. Uzi trying to figure out Absolute Solver, In trying to be the good guy, V learning to trust people more. Those are just some examples. All of the characters have some really good writing. I'll also talk about the mystery element of Absolute Solver. I'll joke about the show being hard to understand, but in all seriousness, Liam Vickers did an amazing job with the mystery element. It not getting explained right away is fine. I just gotta get used to scraping away at the lore instead of sudden lore drops. During, say, episode 4, I was confused out of my mind, but by the end of the show, I was like, so that's what that is. The ominous meat hole is still confusing, though. Now for the part y'all may or may not have been waiting for. Ranking time. Note that this is all my opinion. I'll put the quick ranking right here if you just want to look at it. But if you want to stick around, I'll go more in depth. Number 8, Episode 7. So the main reason I didn't really like this episode is because it was really, really confusing. I feel like Nori didn't have a very good introduction. She's a good character, don't get me wrong, but the whole time I was wondering why Uzi's mother was a crab-looking thing. It was also Sin's introduction as a villain, which was almost perfect. The reason I say almost is because she just shows up and starts killing everyone with not much explanation. Uzi turning evil for 5 minutes was weird. It adds to the mystery element of Absolute Solver, yeah, sure, but it's episode 7 and the show's about to end, so there's not going to be time to explain that. It was pretty cool, though. Don't get me wrong, it was a great episode, I enjoyed it, the fight scenes are amazing, but I feel like it tries to introduce new things too late in the show. It's also the introduction of the ominous meat hole. I'll give it a 7 out of 10. Number 7, Episode 6. The reason this episode is low on my list is because I feel like it's kind of boring and nothing really happens. I'll go over some pet peeves I have too. 1. Alice is the most annoying turd ever. 2. Tessa, a human, doesn't feel important to the plot for whatever reason. And 3. Uzi dying carries no weight. It feels like she's dying and then isn't, and 3 minutes into episode 7, the concern is just gone. Also, am I stupid? Am I missing something? Why were they down here in the first place? What's the point of any of this? On a more positive note, the Sentinels are pretty neat, Uzi and In become a couple in one of the most funny scenes in the show, and V's sacrifice really felt impactful. The reason I say sacrifice in quotations is because she doesn't die. I'd give the episode a 7.8 out of 10. Number 6, Episode 4. This is the line where the episodes go from good but there's better to really freaking good. That being said, this episode is still confusing. You know the reason they're here, unlike in episode 6 where it's like, we're here because of the plot. But why at this random campsite? I will say though, this episode has a lot of saving grace. Evil Uzi is as sick as her railgun, In is being goofy again, which is always a good thing, and on top of all that, it's just a really good episode. It again ties into the mystery of Absolute Solver, and the reason I keep mentioning that is because Liam Vickers just did that good of a job with the mystery element. This episode gets a 9 out of 10. Number 5, Episode 3. This episode's on the same level as Episode 4, but less confusing. It's a proper introduction to Absolute Solver, which is great. I am confused why Doll speaks Russian. I guess that's fine, though. If I had to say there was an episode where V started changing for the better, it would be this one. She doesn't eat anyone, even though that was her plan. Again, same level as episode 4, but less confusing. 9 out of 10. Number 4, episode 2. Again, it's confusing, but it's only the second episode, so that's fine. It did a great job expanding In and Uzi's characters, and it was just a really good way to follow up the pilot. I didn't expect this much gore from the show, but I have a freakishly high tolerance for gore, so I had no problem with this. It was also when Tad got dragged into the abyss. Rest in peace, the legend. There isn't too much else to say about the episode. It was good. I'll give it a 9 out of 10. Number 3, Episode 1. This was a great introduction to the show. It did a great job introducing the world, sure, but also the characters. They're all written super well. As a first impression, it got me to stick around and watch the rest of the show, which is what you want a pilot to do. Also, the disassembly drones being a threat was great. It feels weird how over the course of the show they just stopped being dangerous, but I guess that's fine because they had to make room for Absolute Solver. It's also when Uzi was being funny about her sick as heck railgun. Stay family friendly, Star Trap. Great episode. 9 out of 10. Number 2, Episode 5. The first 4 episodes were good, but when I watched Episode 5, I was along for the ride. This episode is peak, and I will die on that hill. First of all, the disassembly drones' characters really got expanded in a good way. Well, except for V. She kinda just stood there. Second, it introduced Sin, who apart from being a really good villain, was a really funny character. Third, it was centric around In, and who doesn't love an episode centric around a goober? Something that stands out in this episode is Jay. This episode compensated for her lack of screen time in the best way it could have. Tessa was also a good character, and unlike in episode 6, it felt like she was relevant to the plot. Also, in reading the puppy book, genuinely, how did this guy murder people in the first episode? 10 out of 10, need I say more? And number 1, episode 8. I mentioned the show had a strong pilot, but man does it pale in comparison to the ending. I could not think of a better way to end the show. The fight scenes were incredible, Sin was killing it as the villain, and Uzi and In become a couple while on fire. That was funny. When I first watched the episode, I complained a little that there were no hints that Jay was working for Sin, but then I remembered what a plot twist is. This was the perfect way to end the show. Absolute end? No, absolute peak. 10 out of 10. That's my ranking. I'd give the overall show a 9 out of 10. It's peak, but not without flaws. That's the end of the video. If you watched to the end, then thanks a lot. It really helps my channel out. I'd love to hear your thoughts on murder drones or your episode rankings in the comments. Be sure to like, subscribe, and whatever else I hopefully gaslighted you into doing. Anyway, Jesus loves you. Have a great week. My name is Star Trap. Bye. Subscribe and I'll murder a drone.